Okay. All right. Hello and welcome back to the Football Rundown. Of course, we're back here today with a match preview. We're live as Stockport County take on Bradford City at Valley Parade this upcoming Tuesday night. Hopefully everyone's doing well and hopefully everyone can hear me all right as well. So do let us know in the chat how everything's going. Obviously we're back into League One action, having not played a game this Saturday, which I thought was it was a bit strange actually not having a game this weekend. Kind of gave me no excuses as well. Not having a game on Saturday. But look, we're straight back to it on Tuesday night. It's a big game, and for me, it's probably one that we can't afford to lose, in my opinion. I think that when you look at where we are in the table now, if we want to get promotion come the end of the season, and let's face it, we want to do it through the automatics if possible. That's going to be a tough one to do because of how tight it is at the top, and the points between us and the playoffs, well, the automatic spots, sorry. You got Cardiff up there, 66 points in first spot. Lincoln, 62 points on the board as well. Should we win, we would be 6 points off Lincoln in second with level games played. But it all rides on us getting that win on over Bradford on Tuesday night. And look, it's going to be a tough game. Let's go to the chat. Audio's fine. Yeah, audio's fine. Good. Good evening, mate. Mad if you're imagining AUTOS. Yeah, well, I mean, if we manage to win the game against Bradford, which could be a job in itself, however, they're having a little bit of a dip in form, and we'll get into that later. But look, yeah, I do think there's an outside chance. I think we get points on the board. We've got to beat Bolton when we play them away. We've got to beat Lincoln when we play them away, and we've got to win this one on Tuesday night. That's a lot to ask for, I guess you could say. But I think that we do potentially have it in us. But yeah, I do think we'd have to be at our absolute best in the second half of the season. And that's what I think we're going to have to be if we are going to get the automatic promotion, because it is going to be tough. I think at the moment it does look a lot more likely like it's going to be playoffs and a trip to Wembley, and obviously we're anticipating a second trip to Wembley if we're able to beat Doncaster in the Virtue Trophy, who of course we've been drawn with for the semi-final. So that's quite promising as well, because obviously Mansfield beat Mansfield beat? Mansfield won in the FA Cup. They beat Burnley, didn't they, on Saturday? Yeah, yesterday. So Mansfield against County's been rearranged now, rescheduled. They were meant to play them on the 7th of March. Now, I think we're meant to play Doncaster maybe the Tuesday before that Saturday. It's not been officially confirmed yet, but if that's right, then we would have been playing Mansfield then. So we're now playing Doncaster, and I think there'll be potentially 11 days. I think it is maybe 9 or 10 days between playing Doncaster and our next league game. So that means we can pretty much. I mean, I think we'd beat a full strength Doncaster side anyway. But I think when you factor in, we'll have almost 2 weeks between our next league game and that Virtue Trophy game. Doncaster play Cardiff on the Saturday before they play us, I think, on the Tuesday. So I think it all kind of points towards County getting over the line and getting that win against Doncaster and being in the Virtue Trophy final. Now, if that happens, there's going to be other postponements as well, because I think the final of that is meant to be the 12th of April. This is where it all gets very complicated, because if we're in the final 12th of April, then Port Vale at home will get moved, which is currently the 11th. So it's going to be a huge knock-on effect. But I can't remember where I was going with that. But yeah, so basically, if we get to Wembley for the Virtue Trophy, then it gives us a second trip if we make it through the playoffs. In May, and I think that could be key as well, because I think if we do end up going to the playoff final at Wembley, then I think that it sort of helps us if we go in there with a good experience in recent times, having hopefully won the final of the Virtue Trophy. Like I say, it's not maybe the biggest competition to win, but it's still a competition to win, and it could give us an advantage in terms of if we are going to get to a playoff final, playing at Wembley a few months before it is not necessarily the worst thing to do. So yeah, that's where we're at with that one. So let's just say what everyone's saying. They beat Burnley, yeah. What they beat Burnley. Saw you on the telly versus Port Vale. Yeah, a few people said that. I think we were spotted, me and Adam. Adam in his bright yellow coat. It's hard to miss, to be fair. County v Bolton playoff final for me. Ooh, that would be a tough one. I mean, let's have a look at it currently. because they're probably the two most informed teams outside of Cardiff and Lincoln. Huddersfield just about in there. They're the only team that lost in the top 6 at the weekend as well, I think. Huddersfield. Yeah, it is looking like that. It's looking like that. However, if I'm saying we've got an outside chance of getting second spot, then so have Bolton got an outside chance of getting there as well. So look, I think it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, we all want automatics because of what happened last time we went to Wembley, and a lot of people say how bad our record is at Wembley. So a lot of people would prefer to do it through the automatics, but people will say that's pretty mad to imagine, as we've someone's just said earlier in the chat, like being mad to think that. So yeah, I think we are going to have a really strong second half of the season if we're going to get automatic spots. I just think that, I don't know. I think if we end up going through the playoffs, I think it could get messy, because that's what happened last season. I mean, I still think, and obviously we were unlucky at times to not get over the line. You can look at individual games and say last season, if it had gone our way, then we would have been in the Championship this season. So we were that close to it, and we just didn't get over the line in the semi-finals when it mattered most to the playoffs. So having said that, I don't think we've been as good this season as what we were last season, and maybe this is the time where we get over the line. We'll have to wait and see. The yellow coat will always be visible. It's not going to be invisible, is it? Thoughts on Sidibe? We'll sort of touch on that a little bit more shortly. But yeah, he's looking good. He's looking good at the moment, isn't he? Obviously, 2 goals in the Virtue Trophy on Tuesday night for him. 2 big goals for him. I think he has looked good. I mean, what a header it was as well for the second goal. I've not actually seen the first one back, and I didn't have a great view of it when watching it, because it was far side for us in the ground. But the second one was a really, really good header, and I think he's got a really good jump on him. I think he's a very good player for us at the moment. He's not really seems to put much of a foot wrong. Let's see what happens, over the rest of the season. Bradford are a physical team. They were doing Peterborough wingers in from what I heard, but we're a physical team too. We are much, much better than last season, in my opinion. Wootton robbed by EFL for Player of the Month. Saw that. I think they give it to Ballard because he scored just as many, but I think he scored. I think he also scored 5. I think it was in January, but one of those was a hat trick in one game, and I think it was 2 across the rest of the month or something like that. So yeah, probably has been robbed, to be honest. Probably should have got it. He was certainly in form over the last month. I don't know if we are that much better. I mean, maybe it's just a sort of on the eye sort of thing, but I think first half of last season, I think we had the ability to put teams to the sword a little bit more. We saw the Bolton game where we won 5-0. We saw the Wrexham game. Okay, it was a narrow win, but it was a 1-0 win. But when we had Louis Barry, I just thought that he was that player that just made games a lot more entertaining and exciting to watch. And maybe I'll feel differently about it when we get when we have him back. But I just think that first half of last season was very enjoyable. I mean, we got Burton away in a week from now, I think, and that was also a really enjoyable game last season for me. Burton away, and we won 3-0. And I think first half of last season we had it in us to score goals and kill games off more. We had a lot more 2-0s and 3-0s, it felt like, in the first half of the season. The second half of the season, I could be wrong here, it felt a lot more like we would go a few goals down, maybe 1 or 2 down, and we'd find a way to come back. I'm thinking of, was it Lincoln or something like that at the end of the end of last season. So it felt more like more of a determined, more of a togetherness, more of a fight in this. In the second half of the season. The first half of the season felt a lot more like we could put teams away if and when we wanted to. And I think that's exactly what we're going to have to do this season as well in the second half of the season, because I don't think we have necessarily scored enough goals. You look at the 2 teams at sort of top of the table at the moment. You look at how many goals they've scored. I think in the that 58 goals for Cardiff. Obviously, Cardiff have been unbelievable. 53 for Lincoln. We're on 42. Now we've scored 42 goals so far this season. That's as many as we conceded in all of last season. We currently conceded 35 this season. So I think we're going to end up conceding more goals than we did this time. By the end of this season compared to last season. Are we going to end up scoring as many as we did last time, because we scored 72? Will we add another 30 goals or so to our goal tally come the end of the season. We'll have to wait and see. But Cal Wootton's obviously stepped up with goals this season. But even his 15 goals this season isn't as many as as what Louis Barry left us with at the halfway point of last season. So yeah, not gonna lie, I'm concerned about it being called off when we're en route to the ground. But that's what happened last time. I did Bradford away, would have been the December 23, I think it was, and I think it was the Friday after Christmas, maybe something like that, 28th or something. And we had a little bit of a scare there where we thought the game might have been called off due to bad weather. So hopefully it doesn't happen. I didn't think he was good against us. Ballard, I'm guessing you're talking about. Yeah, well, the two top scorers face off against one another and the game finished 0-0. Sidibe has got what Mothersill lacks. I mean, different kind of players, aren't they? I mean, I think Mothersill's looking. I don't know. There was a point where he was looking quite good. He started to show real positive signs when he came off the bench against Peterborough away. Then there were a few more positive signs here and there in moments and glimpses, and then he kind of fell out of favour again. And then he's sort of come back the last few weeks and looks like he's had moments against Plymouth, and that I think it was for Wootton's first goal. So I don't know with Mothersill. I think what we've seen across the season moments here and there from him, glimpses, but we haven't seen enough. We've not seen him have one really good game yet. We haven't seen him then turn that into a run of games of being really good as well. So that has to come, in my opinion. What we will do is we'll give him time because he came in for a record fee, which means we're not going to move him on anytime soon unless a ridiculous offer comes in. He signed, a 4 or 5 year deal. So we're going to be sort of forced into giving him time as well, as much as anything. So hopefully it clicks with him. I do think Mothersill will end the season stronger than what he started it, because I just think once you get Barry back as well, and once Alafi's back and sort of up to speed, because he's not been quite right so far, I do think we'll see a better version of Mothersill. But hopefully, we do need to see that. We do need to see it. He does need to, to kick on. Louis Barry could be crucial. I think the timing of it, I mean, what I would say to that, and I think we're all anticipating Louis Barry to come back for the run-in and be that player that helps us get over the line. And don't get me wrong, I think he'll be that player myself. But I also think, look at Tanto Alafi currently, the last 2 or 3 games since he's come back. Does he look up to speed? Does he look like he's, sort of lacking match sharpness a little bit? Yeah, he does. So that's going to take time for him to get up to speed. It'll be no different, in my opinion, with Louis Barry. Like, we can't expect him to come back in his first game be a 10 out of 10. Like, I think we're going to have to try and phase him in. I think the problem is we're looking at him being the saviour to our, not problems, but the player to get us over the line. And if he might not be quite ready for that. Don't get me wrong; he could come in and first game back be absolutely unbelievable from that point to the end of the season. But we can't expect that from him necessarily. We had great comebacks against Rotherham, Huddersfield, and Lincoln, and Wickham. Yeah, they're the ones I'm thinking of. And that's what I'm saying. It was more of a sort of determined performance in the second half of last season, I felt, than blowing teams away. And I think that the first half of the season, we had the ability to blow teams away. I mean, we beat Cambridge comfortably first game of the season at home. I think it was 2-0. Then we went and beat Blackpool 3-0. We beat Bristol Rovers quite comfortably 2-0. We drew at Mansfield away. I think that we did obviously then lose to Leyton Orient and that in the September quite badly, and we went for a bit of a bad patch. And then I think we drew away at Barnsley to end September off. But for the most part, in that first half of last season, I did feel like we had the ability to really punish teams, and I think we sort of lost that a little bit in the second half of the season. This time around, I think it's going to be slightly different. I do think when you get Barry back, Alafi back, and up and running properly, I do think we'll start to have that ability to sort of kill teams off again. So, we'll have to wait and see. Someone tell Liam Richardson to interview with Sidibe. I think everyone's been calling for him to do that. What I would say to that is I think they have acknowledged that, because they put out a few shorts and stuff like that on their social media around Sidibe's goals from Tuesday. And they don't normally put loads of content out for EFL trophy games. So, yeah. When is Barry back? Okay, right. Well, they did say March. I'm going to put this in. This is something I worked on. This was from the beginning of February. So that sort of helps. That's where we were in February. So we had obviously Hinchliffe, Adai, Metcalf as our goalkeeping options. In terms of injuries, we had Hoskinen, who was expected back this month. Fiorini was expected back this month, so there's still time for that. Onyango, I think he's now back, isn't he? I think Benno Anderson, 6 to 12 weeks. That was as of probably the 1st of Feb. So that was dependent on injury, on whether or not he was going to have surgery as well. If he required surgery, he would have been out to the end of the season. I'm not sure what's happening with that one. Louis Barry was expected to be back in March, but I don't think they ever said whereabouts in March. I think it was probably maybe mid-March. Then Camps and Connolly are out for the season. So that's where we're at with that one. That was as of the 1st or 2nd of Feb, once the window shut, basically. Yeah, Wogan went on loan. Yeah, I've got that right. I thought I made a mistake then. I think the Bayern Lincoln game, maybe the game against Luton, but having a break in between Mansfield, I think will be viable. Well, obviously Mansfield's now been moved as well, so we'll have to wait and see. Will Benno go on loan? I'm worried about his future, but having said that, he's still 20, and people have to remember that he's still young. He's currently out injured still, isn't he? I don't know what's happening with his surgery, if he needs it or not, because I think they said it'd be 6 to 12 weeks, but if it requires surgery, he could be out for the season. I think that's what I remember hearing. So maybe someone in the chat knows more than me on that one. But yeah, that's where we're at with Anderson. The thing is, he's not been great this season when he has played. And I don't think whether or not, I don't necessarily think if he's back or not will necessarily be the thing that is defining in our season. I think we've got players that have been, ahead of him. Wootton, I think, will be a player that we can rely on to step up when it matters most. The same with Barry. Hopefully, the same with Tanto. I do think we've got players there. Jack Diamond has the ability. I mean, that goal against Port Vale, I know he was against tired legs and against the team had pretty much given up at that point in time. But you think about that goal he scored against Port Vale, that just shows the quality he's got. In fact, we're gonna have to go over that one again. He's just gone down the left-hand side. A decent finish into the corner as well. There we go. That's what you get with Diamond. He just has the ability to just run at teams, and a lot of time he can maybe make the wrong decision. He can end up being selfish, but sometimes it comes off, and it did in that moment as well. So I think we have got players that have the ability to make a difference, and hopefully, whatever happens with Benno Anderson, whether or not he's going to be back available or not. What I would say is, and I think you're right, if he is injured, if he isn't injured or he ends up coming back, and there is an opportunity to loan him somewhere, maybe. I don't know what level he'd be able to go out on loan to during the season, but maybe he just doesn't, needs a few games against, at a level where he's going to be able to score a few goals and up his confidence, because he has struggled this season. And let's remember as well, like you said, he's still only young. He's come to another country, and it's a tough league to get out of, League One. It's a very tough league to get out of. Where are we going with the chat? Didn't realise Wogan had gone out on loan. Yet, been over that one. Sidibe is just a bit better than Tanto, I think, in his overall game. Interesting thought. They've definitely got the ability to be similar in terms of their pressing ability and just being an overall absolute nuisance for opposition defenders. But I do think that Sidibe does seem to have another aspect to his game, which is he's got the ability to sort of, like I say, he's good in the air. He looks good in the air, from what we've seen so far. I mean, I don't know how tall he is. What is he? 5'9" and maybe 5'8", but he's got a hell of a leap on him. And he does look like at the moment he's got the ability to be quite good in the air as well, which is probably something that Tanto maybe doesn't have to his game. But I think that we've got good options now. I mean, going into the window, I was worried that we maybe had Wootton and Andresen was lacking confidence, and it was almost a case of if we lose Wootton, I think we're in trouble. And I still think that now. I think that if we were to lose Wootton, it would be a sort of a big shock to us and a big sort of disappointment, and it would be a concern. But I do think that we now have players like Tanto and like Barry and like Sidibe, that I do think that we can manage to find a way. We do have more options now. Sidibe has been playing for St Johnstone, where Tanto hasn't. Perhaps expectations should be more realistic all round. A £1 million player in a team pushing for promotion from League One shouldn't be expected to set many pitches on fire with our playing style. Um, who we're referring to there? I've completely lost track. His first touch is better as well than Tanto's. Yeah, probably. I mean, Tanto never had the best first touch, to be fair, but he was a player which, like I say, was a nuisance for defenders. And on his day, he just has the ability. Like I say, probably does need a few chances here and there, but when he takes it, and when he's in form as well, he is pretty hard to stop. Staying in the Championship would require every player to be worth around a minimum of 3 million. Potentially, yeah. Vale's pitch was a disgrace. Yeah, it wasn't the best, and I think that's putting it lightly. Yeah, it wasn't a great pitch, but look, we battled through it, and look, I just wish we could play Port Vale every week because our two most comfortable wins of the season have been at Port Vale, literally on their pitch, at their ground against them, and I just wish we could play them every week because we had 3-0 not beginning the season, but end of October. And then obviously Tuesday, and it was really, really comfortable. Apart from a sort of a sort of not a bad spell, but not maybe the best start to the game. I don't know, first 5-10 minutes. After that, I think we just looked dominant. I mean, I can't remember what the stats were. I think I said it in the the end of the vlog on Tuesday night. I think it was like 75% of the ball, something like that. So yeah, I was referring to Mother Silk. Fair enough. Let me go back to it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with Mother Silk, just thinking, I don't know. I don't really think we're necessarily playing to his strengths either. But then I don't know. I don't know with him. I don't know what the situation is, but we've obviously signed him for a reason. His stats looked unbelievable not just last season, over the last few seasons at Peterborough, he looked like a player which was continuously getting better and better. And when we signed him, I didn't expect it at all, and I was quite happy with the signing, to be honest. When I heard the news, I thought, brilliant, we're getting a player which knows how to get goals, knows how to get assists. You look at his numbers over the last few years, it's something like 25 goal contributions, I think it was in League One last season. So they're good numbers, but he's not put those numbers up this season. I mean, I don't know how many assists he's had this season. I think he's only maybe scored one goal, maybe 2 goals max. So it has been an underwhelming season for him. But he is a young player, a bit like Andresen. The expectations probably are always going to be high because it's a club record fee. But yeah, I think that it just doesn't seem to have worked at the moment. Doesn't seem to have worked at the moment. Where's he going at the moment? Going to chat. But I watched Grimsby today against Wolves, and that wasn't much better. No. There's no real shocks either in the FA Cup, were there, really, this weekend? I mean, everything about the place that is Grimsby screams falling apart. Yeah, hard to argue with that. Just hope Dave sets up to play football on Tuesday instead of boot the ball up to Wootton and hope for the best. Look, it'd be interesting to see how we set up against Bradford on Tuesday. I mean, obviously they beat us last time. They beat us at Edgeley Park. It was actually our first defeat of the season. Was it 2-1 defeat to them? Owen Moxon, of all players, scored the goal for us on that night because it was a Tuesday night game, I think, as well. We've obviously been playing with two strikers recently, or sort of split strikers at times. But yeah, I think it'll be. I don't know if we can play football. I mean, that first half against Bradford, many people say was our best performance of the season. The way we played in that first half against Bradford in Edgeley Park back in August, but it didn't amount to anything in the end because we didn't manage to get anything from it. So I don't know. It's one of them, isn't it? We all want to be entertained as fans, but can we at the moment play entertaining and also get a win? I mean, how many times have we been that entertaining this season? I don't know. Right, so that's what I was referring to, a £1 million player playing in our playing style. Yeah, it's a fair point. Anybody know how many points we had this time last season compared to this time this season? Interesting. I normally check that, to be fair. I've not checked it for a few games. But yeah, I do. I think that we're probably not a million miles away from it. I know we ended the season with, because I was looking at it before, 87 points it was, and we're currently on 53 with 16 games to go. So I don't know. Do you think we'll finish the season with more points or less points than what we had at the end of last season? Let me know your thoughts on that one. Three at the back to match Bradford, to match Bradford up. But Alexander said he's going to make changes with the amount of games coming up for his side. Look, I think everyone's gonna. It's a tough period now, isn't it? I mean, we're playing it's pretty much Saturday, Tuesday, and that's where that's where squad depth and quality comes into it. Being able to manage and the players and sort of adapting. We're obviously catching Bradford probably at, maybe I don't want to say this because obviously they've been a good team at points this season, and you can always come back to backfire. But I think we probably are catching them at a good time. Having said that, I thought we were catching Leyton Orient at a good time. And look how that went. It finished 0-0, and they hadn't actually drawn a game all season when away from home, and they'd conceded 32 goals away from home as well at that point. So I don't know about. I think sometimes these stats they play a part, don't they? But they never. When it sort of really comes down to it, how important is it? I mean, some interesting stats here on Bradford. Obviously, they're fifth in the league. Fifth in the league currently. 3 defeats and 2 wins from the last 5 matches. They've not drawn a match in League One since drawing away to Bolton on the 22nd of November. So since then, they've been pretty sort of hit and miss in recent times, and I'd say probably more miss recently. Just 3 wins from their last 8 as well in League One. But Bradford actually have the most home league wins in the whole 4 divisions, the whole 4 sort of top 4 divisions in England since the start of last season. So they've picked up 28 league wins while at home over the last 2 seasons, and that's 11 of them have come this season. Also, only 3 teams have picked up more points while at home this season in League One than Bradford. 35 points while at home. Lincoln, Bolton, and Cardiff. The 3 teams that have picked up more than them. They've also picked up 7 more points at home than County, having played a game less. So it's quite interesting as well because we're not that brilliant, when it comes to home form in terms of like the home table. I think we're like 9th or something. I think we picked up 25 points, maybe something like that. I think it is. I should have checked this properly, really. Yeah, we're 9th and we picked up 28 points this season when at home. So it's our away form where we've been a lot stronger. I mean, we're pretty much a point off being the one of the best away teams this season. So it's just goals for me. I don't know I don't think we've scored enough goals than a lot of teams in front of us, and I think that's probably something we're really going to have to work on. And that's, to be fair, why Charlie's probably gone so sort of a striker heavy in January, in the January transfer window. That's why we've probably looked to bring in a few attacking players, because we haven't scored enough, and obviously we want to. You want the best of both worlds, don't you? You want to be defensively solid and you want to be scoring goals down the other end. We brought in a right back in Dacus Cogley, who I think has been absolutely brilliant since he's come in. I think there were 2 soft yellows, to be honest, which he was suspended for. He wasn't able to play against Port Vale because I think he'd already played for Bolton previously in the Virtue Trophy. And obviously he's serving a suspension, I think, for the game on Tuesday, which is disappointing. So, it's frustrating because he's been really good for me, Dacus Cogley. You could argue so far he's been our best signing of the January transfer window, in terms of he's just come in, he's slotted in really nicely. He's not really put too much of a foot wrong. He looks like he's got unbelievable pace. He looks like he's obviously very good defensively as well. He's at times he's almost played as a right centre back as well, of that back 3 that we opt to go with. So I do think he's versatile. He's steady as well because he has that experience. So I think that Dacus Cogley's been really good, and it's a shame we don't have him for the game against Bradford on Tuesday. It'd be interesting to see who he goes with in that right wing back position. Going to go back to the chat as well. If I remember, against Bradford at Edgewood Park, we should have been 4 up at least, but I think they were the story of 5, 6 games, maybe 8. Yeah, I think that we had some good opportunities, I think, in that first half, and if I remember correctly, and we probably just didn't quite take our chances. And to be fair, I think there was a shot at the end where we all thought it'd gone in, and made it 2-2. It was like almost a ghost goal, if you like. And I just think we were. It was. I hate the cliche, but it was very much a game of two halves, wasn't it? That game against Bradford earlier in the season. I can't see Lincoln being stopped, to be honest. Well, they drew at Bolton, didn't they? They drew with Bolton, sorry, on Saturday, and that's a huge point for us because we don't want either of them two to win and sort of get any further ahead of us than what they are currently. And that's why I'm saying like that result was perfect. The rest of results in the table on Saturday didn't really do much for us, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's. I think we're looking at Bradford and Lincoln. They're the two teams I'm worried about, and I think they're the two teams that we're going to have to beat. Both got them both away from home, haven't we, before the end of the season? And I think we've got to win both of them if we want to try and get second. So I think at the moment, I think a third or fourth finish would be about right. But who knows? Maybe second. That was Alexander's post match versus Bradford, by the way. Fair enough. Sorry, Peterborough. Thoughts on Dixon? He's looked good, to be honest. I thought he was going to be another Rico Richards, Mika Hamilton, but fair play to him. Well, we've been after him for a while, haven't we? We've been chasing him for at least since the summer, because I think we were going to get him in the summer and then he got injured. So we've been after him for quite a while. And you don't chase a player for that long if you don't think he's half decent, I guess. So yeah, he looked all right against Port Vale. The real test will be, I think, on Tuesday night, where I think he'll end up starting the game if Dakaskoglu can't play. In fact, we'll get to that now. The starting 11 for the game against Bradford. Wrong one there. There we go. That's the one I wanted. What's your thoughts on that one? 4-2-3-1 is what I'm thinking. I think we'll get the first league start of the season, I think, for Lewis Bate. I think we'll see a sort of 4-2-3-1. I guess at times it could end up becoming a back three. But Dixon, right back, Hills, Pye was obviously the centre backs. Eden at left back. Bate, Norwood as those sort of two central midfielders. Odin Bailey just in front. Sidibe sort of will end up going to the right, but at times I think he can sort of become the sort of second striker, and Diamond can sort of send sort of in behind, playing sort of just behind the two. Wootton obviously, and then Diamond on the left. I think that could be probably not a million miles away with that starting 11. So I want to get people's thoughts on that one. But yeah, that's why I said I think Sidibe over Tanto. I think that we could well see that because Tanto hasn't necessarily looked completely at it since he's come back, and I think that Sidibe's looked sharp in the last game or so. So I do think that maybe having that option of Tanto off the bench could be a better way of seeing him. Get sort of running at tired defenders, and that he might be able to impact the game from the bench more likely at this moment in time. So yeah, I think it's. I would go Sidibe over Tanto. I mean, I think whoever gets dropped, you've got a very good option off the bench. He might look to play all three of them. I just don't know if that necessarily works. I think it's good to have one of those options off the bench because if things don't work, then you'll want someone to come on and, like I say, run at tired legs. So, yeah, I think, again, I guess on the other hand, if Bradford are going to play a back three, then there's not going to be a lot of space to attack in that defensive area. So maybe you might want to play all three to sort of run them ragged. I don't know. It'd be interesting to get people's thoughts on it. But yeah, like I say, I think it's can we afford to lose this one? I don't think we can, because I think we lose this one. We give obviously Bradford then get the opportunity to go ahead of us, which I think they would end. How many points do they offer us there? Literally a point behind us, so they would go 2 points ahead with a win, and they would be on at least level goals difference with us if they beat us 1-0. So. Or by a goal. So I think that we can't really afford to, because then you end up getting into the dangerous position of Huddersfield suddenly turn up and win a few games. The pressure starts to pile. So at the moment we look comfortably in the playoffs, but before you know, we can suddenly become a little bit concerned and start looking over our shoulder the other way. So I think we have to win this one, sort of at least get a point from it. Looks good to me. Depends what Tanto's contract stipulates, but I doubt he'll be benched if he's fit. It's a good point. Good point. Maybe he is obligated almost to sort of start as many games as possible. But yeah, I just think Sidibe's looked a little bit sharper. Obviously, the 2 goals as well. I know it's against Port Vale, but they are still a team in this league. It's not like sort of national league. So, and he looks more confident. And obviously, he's been playing for St Johnstone regularly, so he's obviously a match fit. So, I think that comes into it for me. Whereas Tanto probably not fully confident. Obviously he's had a difficult time at Charlton. He's sort of not played loads. He's come back to County. Obviously, he spoke a lot about sort of the love from the fans here, but it still takes time to get that sort of confidence back up and running. And then obviously the fitness and the sharpness, not really fitness, but more sharpness coming into play. And also, I guess, sort of readapting to our style of play as well comes into it. So I think that I think it, I would go with Sidibe over Tanto to start, but like you say, there might be something in there where Tanto pretty much has to play as much as possible. In which case, I think Sidibe would be a really good option off the bench. So, however you look at it, whether or not it's one or the other, there's a very decent player that can impact the game coming on there off the bench. We need to let Tanto get that sharpness. I remember when he first came 3 years ago, I think it was, and I think he was a bit rusty, and I think it's the same again. Yeah, possibly, but then that's another year where we went through the playoffs and just missed out. And I think that at the moment you've got to pick a player based on who's best for the team right now and who looks the best right now between the two of them. I love Tanto as a player. I'm really happy we've got him back, albeit to the end of the season. But at the moment, Sidibe, not just the 2 goals, even before that, I thought there were moments he looked good against Blackpool when he came on. Um, he is looking like a decent player. So I think that at the moment, Sidibe over Tanto. Just eating Pringles. I love Texas barbecue. I'm not a huge fan of Pringles, to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of crisps. I could quite easily get rid of crisps. That might be controversial, but yeah. What was I going to say then? But Pringles put me off. With Tanto as well, I think we should be prioritising our. We've got him on loan, whereas we bought Sidibe. So I think we should be prioritising him a little bit in that sense. And I did hear someone else say that earlier in the week. So yeah, and I did agree with it, which is why I've just said the same thing. I agree with the lineup, but what about Osborne? I think he'll find a way to get Osborne in. I think it's a really good point. I did consider putting him in that midfield because I think the last few games we have looked to pick 2 or 3 midfielders, and sometimes Osborne ends up playing at left wing back as well. We did. I can't remember which game it was now. Might have been the home game before Leyton Orient. Can't remember who it was. Might have been the Plymouth game, I think. And we played. Taylor Eden was playing on the right hand side, I think, in the first half, and Osborne was playing, I think, at left wing back. And it just felt odd. I don't think it worked, and it just felt weird. And I think we must have swapped in the second half, and that's when we got back in the game. I think it was the Plymouth game. So I don't know with Osborne. I think that whilst we were waiting for Taylor Eden to come back, I think he was a constant player to pick at left wing back. But I think that since Eden's come back, he's pretty much nailed down that position. And then you've got Lewis Bate back now in midfield. He got his first start of the season against Port Vale on Tuesday. I think he'll want to play. I think he started him with this game in mind. I think he was thinking about testing the water. And I think that he wants to. I think Charlie wants to start Bate not tomorrow against Bradford on Tuesday. So I think Osborne will become a player off the bench, to be honest. But I wouldn't be surprised if he started and he comes in with good experience and he hasn't really yet faced any real injury problems either, which is what we thought we were going to get with him based on what Derby fans were saying about him. Have you seen Sidibe's interview podcast with those guys? Really good, to be honest. Haven't seen it yet. Haven't, if I'm being honest. Osborne is much better left wing back than CM for me. Surely Onyango should be close to returning. I think Onyango's back. I'm pretty sure. Did he come back? Did he come off the bench against Port Vale? Or have I imagined that? I might have imagined that. But yeah, I think he's back. So I think Osborne, I agree. I think he is better as a left wing back. And I think at the moment that's very much Taylor Eden's sort of spot. He looks really good in that position. So I think Osborne was getting a lot more credit there at the beginning of the season when the options were him or Dodgson. I think now since Eden's come back in sort of November, then yeah, I think I think it's Osborne on the bench, to be honest. People talking about Onyango here, so I'm going to figure out what's happening with him. I felt sure he came on against Port Vale. I might have dreamt it. I'm just checking. Was he on the bench? He wasn't on the bench. He started the game. He came off. Yeah, he came off. He started in midfield with Norwood and Bate. That's how it has it down on FotMob. Tyrone Yango started on Tuesday. Just played the hour. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought I'd seen him play. Feels so long ago now, though. So yeah, he is he's back available, and he's a good option in midfield, and also can play right centre back. Um, I think it's good. Like I say, I don't think we can afford to lose it. I've said that a few times now. I think we've gone over the big topics, haven't we? Sidibe over Tanto, which could split people. Wharton obviously starts. I think that 11 I've gone with is probably. I don't think it'll end up being 100% right. In all fairness, I never seem to get all of them right, but I think it's more or less there might be maybe one or two changes to that, but I think that's as close as we're going to get. I think, like I say, we'll see some players come back as well. We'll get some more updates on players' injuries when the club speak to Challoner, which I think will probably drop tomorrow night. So yeah, I'm encouraged because we've been in a decent spell as well. I think what is it, 6 unbeaten in the league. So we're doing pretty well. And I just think that we get a result from this, then you move on. I think we've got Wigan next Saturday as well. So I think that, it is looking up for us. And I also think as well, there's going to be a lot of postponements, or not postponements, but reschedules. We're going to see one or two games rescheduled, I think, sort of at least between now and the end of the season. And I think that could be huge for us. I mean, we've got the Mansfield home game being rescheduled, so that's going to be pushed further back. We've got if we reach the final against whoever in the Virtue Trophy, that means the Port Vale home game will be rescheduled as well. So they're home games that are going to basically be sort of being pushed back to the sort of back end of the season. And there's one thing you want when you get close to the end of the season, you get to the run in, and it sort of gets tight at the top of the table, and we're fighting for points. And what you want is a bunch of home games. And as it stands at the moment, I think we've got it's only 2 of our last 5 league games at home. So I think that we will see a few more home games now get pushed into the last few games of the season for us, and that could be a huge thing for us. Obviously, we got Barnsley away last game of the season, but I think that having potentially Mansfield at home pushed back further back to the end of the season, and Port Vale, which could be winnable games, especially Port Vale at home, getting that pushed into maybe the last few weeks of the season at home crowd with you. Yeah, I know it'll be a Tuesday night, but still, I think that could be an important thing for us. Apologies, lads. I meant close to returning for full 90 minutes, but pressed send too soon. Yeah, no worries. I don't know how many minutes did he play on Tuesday night? 62 minutes. So he's probably not a million miles away, to be honest. He's probably looking at a few more games here and there. I don't know if he'll get many minutes. I don't know if he'll get any minutes against Bradford, in all fairness. Are you going Burton and Stevenage? I'll be doing Burton and I'll be doing Stevenage. So yeah, that's where we're at with that one. Everyone's going to be needed 100%, 100% on that one. Wimbledon away to play still mid-April. That's what I'm saying. If we get to the final of the Virtue Trophy, we're playing Wembley. I think it is on the 12th of April. Wimbledon on the 14th, and Exeter away on on that Saturday as well. Is it the 18th? So that's going to be a mad week where we're going to have a lot of potentially free away trips. It's going to be tough. It's going to be expensive as well for people if they're going to try and do all the games as well. So I think it's going to be sort of a busy period of time. Sort of Luton away as well, not too far away in that around that period of time. So yeah, I think R2 will be on the bench. Do you mean for Bradford on Tuesday? Everett, yeah, I've gone through that. Wimbledon, yeah, we've gone through that comment. I think the atmosphere EP hasn't been good. Has something going on. I don't know. I don't know with the atmosphere. I think. I've sort of moved from where I was sort of last season. I spent a lot of last season down in the lower tier one. And obviously now I've got a season ticket, so I've got a permanent seat, whereas last year I was sort of in between places. But I would always pretty much sit in lower tier one because you can stand up. And I do think that's much better when you're at the match. I always prefer standing up at games, and that I have noticed there's been a bit of a change in atmosphere just from a personal perspective from last season to this season. It's hard for me to gauge if that's been for everyone, if everyone's noticed that or not, because I've not been in the same seat for a period of time. So if there's anyone that's sort of been going and been sat in the same area for the last few seasons, they can probably tell me if they think there's been a change in their area from last season to this season. But for me, I obviously have noticed a difference because I've gone from being able to stand up in lower tier one to then being able to sit down and that, which I think does end up killing atmosphere a little bit. Do you think we'll do a souvenir magazine if we get promoted? 100%, 100% we will. I think they'll be doing everything they can because again, they want to make as much money back as possible as well. Nothing's going on. People who used to sing a lot aren't bothering now, and a lot of people don't like newer chants, which get sung more than the older chants that younger fans don't know. I mean, me and you have spoke about this a few times as well. I think that we let a lot of players go in the summer that had songs that were regularly sung as well, so that hasn't helped. And we probably haven't managed to find songs that are sort of as good with the newer players. I mean, obviously, people will be trying to push the Sidibe one. Obviously, Tanto's back now, so when he's up and running and scoring goals, I mean, just you wait till he scores his first goal back for us again. Wait till that happens. He'll have all the songs out again. Louis Barry, when he gets his first minutes back on the county, back on the pitch in a county shirt. Wait to see what the atmosphere is like for that. I do think these players will give the fans and therefore the atmosphere a lift, but it hasn't been great really. Although I would argue I think it has been getting better recently again. The last few home games have gone and thought I mean, the bar was set pretty low, but I have said pretty much the last few games I thought the atmosphere is slightly better than what it was the game before that. So yeah. There's an audible difference in volume from the Cheadle and nowhere near as loud as in previous seasons. Yeah, I don't know. It hasn't felt the same for me, but it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, the atmosphere was the best when we were in non-league. When I was in upper tier 3, they used to sing more, but now a lot of chants fall on deaf ears. Hence why I sit with Rob now. That's the only reason he sits with me. Thanks for that. Why do the stewards always come to Cheadle 20 minutes before the end? Probably because they're trying to calm everyone down. Don't know what they're trying to calm down, but I think they must think there's something to calm down because they remember they have to look like they're doing their job. Brilliant comment. Probably comment of the night, that one. We need to get behind the boys tomorrow night. Try Tuesday night, and I'll agree with you. But yeah, didn't mean it like that, mate. I'll let you off. But yeah, I think that the atmosphere hasn't been great. Sort of at home games, I think some of the away games have been decent. But then even then, I think the away games last season were still better than what they have been this season as well. I mean, the best one, I'm trying to think what was the best. What's been the best away support this season? In terms of atmosphere, the best away support this season was probably everyone who went to the Plymouth away game, wasn't it? But in terms of actual atmosphere, Port Cardiff was okay. Probably Huddersfield's pretty high up on that. Blackpool obviously wasn't the same as what it was last season. I think the best away game atmosphere this season is probably yet to come. I think Bolton could be a really good one. I think Easter Monday. Well, it's a big game as well. It's a game that actually has relevance. I mean, the last few times we've played Bolton, we've been sort of in a better position than them, and we've battered them, haven't we? So I think that this game will probably be a very different Bolton game when it comes up in April to what we've seen in recent times, and I think that potentially this time we don't end up battering them, but who knows? So yeah, I think that could be probably earmarked as potentially one of the best away atmospheres of the season. I think Luton as well could be that, and obviously Barnsley at the end of the season. Who knows what position we could we could well be in at that point. So yeah, I think I don't know with away atmospheres, but probably Huddersfield is what I'd say so far, and someone agrees with me on that one. Blackpool away or Huddersfield, that was rocking. And when Charlie gave it to Huddersfield fans, whatever went on. Blackpool away, I don't know. Maybe I've misjudged it, but I don't think it was that great. The atmosphere when we went, it could have been better, but maybe that's because I'm comparing it to last season, which it was never going to be. What was Doncaster like? What was Doncaster away? Might have been that one. Might have been all right. Can't remember. A smart spend would be for the management to put money into paying for some top-notch chance to be penned. I'm not sure that would take off. I think people would say it's not organic. We just signed a Manchester United youth player. I might have to check that out. To be honest, I've tuned out of transfers recently. It was a manic January transfer window. We made enough noise, but we were never going to top the Blackpool away game of August 24. Exactly. And that's what I mean. Maybe when I'm looking back on it, I'm comparing it to a really good sort of experience there at the beginning of last season. So, yeah, look, maybe who knows? Maybe Bradford away could be a really good atmosphere. I mean, it's worth noting. I think that they've charged everyone just £10 for the tickets, which I think is really interesting. Obviously, I think it's to do with holidays and stuff like that. But it should be a packed crowd. I think there's around 2,000 county fans as well going. I think I saw something like that. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it'll be a good sort of a way to sort of follow in for Tuesday night game anyway. And who knows? Hopefully, it'll be followed by a good away performance. Like I say, I think it's one we do need to at least get a point from, and I think we will get at least a point from it. It's going to be a hard one to call because Bradford haven't been brilliant recently, and we've been pretty decent recently. But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting game, and like I say, hopefully one we manage to get the result we want from. Over 2,600 away fans tomorrow. We got behind. Have we got behind the goal or to the side? I think it's. I think we got the side. What's your thoughts on Adai? Do you think he might get a chance in the first team again towards the end of the season? And would you rely on him or just look to replace him in the summer? So thanks for the comment. I think with Corey Adai, I think that he won't get his chance in the first team this season unless something like what we saw against Wigan away last season happens with Hinchliffe, where he gets injured and then Adai is then sort of thrown into having that opportunity. I think he'll remain the cup goalkeeper for the semi-final against Doncaster. Whether or not he remains in goal for the final, should we get there, I think that's a debate and a conversation near at the time. So I think at the moment, the answer in short to that is no. In terms of the summer, I think both goalkeepers could well move on in the summer. I mean, it depends what Hinchliffe looks to do. It depends on what level we go to if we go up to the Championship. So yeah, I think I think there is a possibility both goalkeepers move on, but I can't see Adai staying. Tuesday, yeah, it is Tuesday, not tomorrow. Too many fans texting their mums or making YouTube videos to chant. Hey, that's what I've been guilty of that. So I mean, I'm not a massive person for chanting anyway, but not everyone has to be. To be fair, but then that's why I generally try not to talk about the atmosphere too much because I'm not always the biggest contributor to it. I mean, don't get me wrong, if we are chanting or whatever, or sometimes I'm always there to clap at the end, I guess. But yeah, not everyone is always the most sort of vocal when it comes down to it. But with over 2,600 fans going, you'd imagine there's enough within that feel comfortable chanting. That's why I do the chanting for him. Yeah, well, Adam does enough for about 15 people. To be fair, the noise he makes when it comes to chanting. So yeah, I think it should be a decent atmosphere on Tuesday night, and it is what I'm looking forward to. I've only done it once before as well, Bradford, and that was also night game because it was the one just after Christmas in 23. So only been there for night games. I can't remember. I think it was not the most memorable game last time. I think it might have maybe finished 0-0 because, yeah, I think that I don't remember anything from it. I don't remember the game at all. I don't think we scored. I think I remember it. So yeah, look, it was a long time ago in my head. Good lad, took the banter well there. Yeah, hands up, hands up. Yeah, I mean, there is, it does split people, doesn't it? In terms of recording and stuff like that football, and it's something that at the moment I'm sort of on the fence with, and in terms of how I feel about that, because you are there for the football, really, I guess, and that. But yeah, um, comments to go back to. I hope Ben stays. He deserves the keys to the stadium. Yeah, just letting himself in during the night. I hope he stays with the football. He's having a testimonial early on this season if he's announced in the community video. Testimonial, I think you mean, yeah. Depends what happens. I mean, I think he's got a year left on his contract when it gets to this summer. Whether or not, if we go to the championship or not, I think what will happen is I think we'll go to the championship. I think that hang on, I've got a bit far, haven't I? I think if we do go up to the championship, I think Adai moves on, Hinchcliffe stays. We bring in another keeper, and Hinchcliffe has another battle on his hands to get number 1 spot back. I think we'll sign a keeper that we deem is good enough to be in the championship. Then does Hinchcliffe just have a year on the bench before he retires? I don't know how that works. He might decide if we go up this season just to call it a year early and go, yeah, I'm done here. But if he knows he's going to end up being back up, he might want to finish on a high. So I don't know what will happen with the keepers. But yeah, the previous one was 0-0. Boring game and not much as a result. They had to do a pitch inspection beforehand. That's what I was referring to earlier, where we sort of feared it wasn't going to go ahead. We won 1-0 there back in 2023. Paddy Madden. Yep. Yeah. Luke is like white on rice in the comments. So yeah, 1-0. That was our last win there, wasn't it? I think it was 2022. Might be wrong there. Paddy Madden. Because we played him in 23. Might have been maybe 22, 23. Maybe we played him earlier in the year. But the one we went to, which was our last visit there, I think it was 0-0. And it was very uneventful, as Adam's just alluded to there, which I think it was 0-0, and he's just said it was. So yeah, right, we've been going nearly an hour now. We've talked a little bit about Bradford and a lot around it. I guess now it gets to the prediction bit where I will end up sitting on the fence probably. I think Bradford are probably in a bit of a bad spell at the moment. They've sort of dropped off a little bit. That's encouragement for us. We're obviously 6 unbeaten and sort of in decent form. So I think that we should be. We should sort of be looking to go there and win it. And obviously, some people want us to go there and play good football as well. So can we do both? We'll have to wait and see. I want to see us go there and play football and get the win, to be honest. But I also want to see us go there and come away with 3 points, no matter if it does just mean lumping it up long to Wootton and maybe him heading on to Sidibe to run on to. I just want to see us win the game, because I think it's the game we have to get as many points from it as possible, because it's all about now trying to close in on those automatic spots. As difficult as that might be, it's something we have to try and do, because we do want to try and make sure we don't end up going through the playoffs, because we know that sometimes the best teams don't always sort of get over the line when it comes down to it. And I do think that last season we had a really good opportunity to go up and we didn't quite take it. And I do worry that if we end up going through the playoffs again, do we necessarily make the most of it? Because we could absolutely outplay a team, we could get to the final, absolutely outplay the opposition, but just not manage to put the ball in the net. We could have 30 shots on target and not put the ball in the net. They could go down the other end and counter and win the final 1-0. Who's been the better team doesn't necessarily mean that the better team wins. So I think we have to try and make sure we get second if we can. It does look out of reach at the moment, but we win on Tuesday night. We potentially go 6 points. 6 points, I think it would be off it. So we've just got to win our games and try and make sure when you play the likes of Bradford, your Boltons, your Lincolns, try and win them and make sure you don't lose them. I know that sounds really basic, but yeah. I need Ben to hang up his gloves. He's the weakest link by a mile. Controversial take. Not everyone will agree with that one. It was October 2022. Madden scored a penalty. There were train strikes that day, so I was so close to not making it. I was going to say you got the coach when we went. I think Ben should be hang up his gloves. 2-0 County, Sidibe and Wootton. Interesting. I'm going to say that County win this, and I'm going to say they do reverse it. So we're going to come away with a 2-1 win at their place, and I'm going to say that I think they score first, maybe, and then we go and have a really strong second half performance and turn it all around. Potentially, Cal Wotton getting on the score sheet for his, I think it would be 16th goal of the season in League One, and then maybe followed by a Tanto winner off the bench. There we go. I'll put it there now. Let's see if I change my mind when I go into that vlog on Tuesday. Right, I want to say a big thanks to everyone who has tuned in live. Thanks for your comments as well. Don't forget to like the video if you have enjoyed it. Do subscribe if you are new. To anyone that's watching afterwards as well, do get your thoughts, and I'll try and read every comment as well, and also subscribe. And we'll see you back on this channel with obviously the vlog on Tuesday night. It'll go out at some point. Just quickly go through these before I go. Then we'll go into some sort of coaching role. We just need a better distributor from goal kicks. Or just get a centre back to take the goal kicks for him, like he's got an injury or something. I think Steve will get 10 goals in all competitions. That's a hell of a stretch. He's only got 2 already. So I don't know if he'll get 10, maybe just under it. But yeah, big thanks to everyone. I get another comment. Being the second best comment this live was the Texas barbecue Pringles. It was just completely sort of off topic, wasn't it? Yeah. All right. Big thanks to everyone, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye for now, and hopefully County manage to get that win against Bradford, and we'll hopefully be closing in on the automatics. Bye for now.